What's up, BookTube? It's Leah Cooper, and today I'm bringing you... I guess I can't call this my spring book haul because I already had a spring book haul, so we'll call this my May-June book haul. How about that? In late May, I started working for a used bookstore. I get a 50% discount on already deeply discounted books, and it's pretty awesome. It's also very, very dangerous. I used to buy used books all the time when I was in my early 20s until I literally ran out of room to put them. After I started moving around a little bit more, I really ran out of any shelf space. So for the past couple of years, I've had a really strict book buying ban placed on myself. I only usually break it like once or twice a year. I do try to also unhaul things periodically. The last time I moved, I did do two sifts through my books to pick out stuff to get rid of. And even still, my tiny room is covered in piles of books, and 75% of my books are in storage. So yeah, working at a bookstore is dangerous. But I have a little tiny book haul to share with you, and I'll have another book haul to share with you in August as well, because we have, instead of having lockers at work, we have cubbies, which is basically an entire shelf in a bookcase to ourselves, and we can put anything we want to purchase on that bookshelf, and we just have to, cash it out at the end of the month. So it's dangerous. Anyways, let's get started on my book haul. I've got 8 things, and I spent $6 on them, so that's pretty good. I got a copy of American Indian Myths and Legends, selected and edited by Richard Erdos and Alfonso Ortiz, and this is just a collection of Indigenous Native American folk tales. I actually read portions of this book in college when I was at Pullman, and when I was originally working on a story idea that had Coyote as a character in it, and I wanted to do some research about his appearance in various different folktales. When I saw this just randomly on our shelves, I was straightening shelves for one of my closing shifts. I was gonna snatch that up so that I can read the whole thing. In that same section, I also came across this. It's D. Brown's Folktales of the Native American, Retold for Our Times. I have no idea what this okay, so I didn't flip through this really. I just kind of looked at it and realized this is along the same lines. It's another collection of Native and Indigenous folktales retold. The next thing I picked up, I got off of one of our children's clearance carts, and that is So You Want to Be a Wizard by Diane Duane. And this is the first book in the Young Wizards series. This is a younger middle grade chapter book. You can probably see the words are huge on the pages, so I'm guessing this is probably 8 to 12 maybe reading age. I might be a little bit wrong on that, but that's what I suspect. I was suggested this book by Jaylee James. I leave a link to their channel down below. They do booktube and also video games and makeup, and they're hilarious. So they're a good friend, and they heard that I was listening to kind of classic fantasy middle grade series on audiobook, just to kind of catch up on a lot of series that I missed out on reading as a kid. They suggested this one, and so when I found it for 50 cents, I immediately grabbed it. The next thing was also sort of a booktuber's recommendation, and that was Deerskin by Robin McKinley. It's not specifically this book, it's more this author. So Kelsey at the Fancy Hat Lady Reads, I'll leave a link to her channel down below as well if I remember to do either of these links. She reads a lot of Robin McKinley, who writes fairy tale-esque fantasy novels. She sounds like an author who I would enjoy, and this was going into our clearance fiction bin, so I grabbed it. Again, it was, plus the cover is really pretty. Can you see that? I think it's a little washed out in this lighting. But yeah, it's quite pretty. It's not super long, and I love me some good fairy tale fiction. And then the rest of these are mass market paperbacks. So the next thing I picked up was Luck in the Shadows by Lynn Flewelling. I think that's her name. So this is the first book in the, peel off the price sticker so that I can read the series title. It's the first book in the Night Runner series. So this is a kind of verging on classic piece of fantasy fiction. Well, I mean, it's from 1996, so it's really not all that old, but it's kind of like it's headed towards being like a classic of like queer fantasy fiction, because there is actually like a not super overt but canon romance in this series between like the protagonist and some other dude, and I've always been kind of curious about this book. It's a little high fantasy for my tastes, but I'm intrigued because of its place in like 90s queer fiction. And it's having a little bit of a resurgence, I think, as, you know, queer fiction, queer fantasy, it becomes more mainstream. So, you know, for 50 cents, I snatched that up. The next thing I grabbed was a personal pick, and that was Moon Called by Patricia Briggs. This is the first book in the Mercy Thompson series. I've wanted to read these for more than a decade because I always loved urban fantasy, and I wanted to read them in a time of my life when I just wasn't reading a lot. I do know that at one point on Overdrive, I checked out my library had like a 3-book or 5-book bundle of the first couple of books in the Mercy Thompson series. I know I checked that out and I never read it because I just wasn't reading a whole lot. So it's kind of like True Blood. True Blood was another one that I always wanted to try to read to see if I liked, and Laurel K. Hamilton. Kind of early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s urban fantasy fiction with vampires and werewolves, which are topics I love, and it's taken me a very long time to get around to reading them. In the case of True Blood and Mercy Thompson, it took me a really long time to find the first book used at the price point I wanted. Now, True Blood, I ended up not liking at all, and I will be unhauling the first one, but I read it, and I feel satisfied having done that. So now, I'm literally reading this book at the moment. It's not bad. I'm gonna wait and see how it plays out, but it's not bad. It's entertaining. And then the last two things I got were both Elizabeth Peters mysteries. So these are both Amelia Peabody mysteries, I think. Yes, they're both Amelia Peabody mysteries. I started reading Amelia Peabody, probably 2 years ago. I've read the first two. I have not continued them since because I didn't want to read them like two back to back. I wanted to break them up. And the problem with that is that a lot of things have just gotten in the way of me continuing to read them, since it's an old series and I just read them for my own pleasure and enjoyment, not because like I should be like reviewing them or because anyone cares to hear about them. These are historical mysteries about a woman named Amelia Peabody, and they're all like archaeology mysteries that take place in Egypt. There's a little bit of colonial overtones because the protagonist is English and her husband's an archaeologist, and we're talking about a late Victorian or early Edwardian, I think. I don't think they're 20th century. I've always been a little unsure. I think it's like Edwardian England folk, and so it's a little sketch, but Amelia Peabody is a hoot and a half, and I enjoy them as kind of like it's the same reason people like Agatha Christie kind of thing. I don't know where these come in the series. The Hippopotamus Pool is quite low down because I'm like looking at, when they do the list of books. I think it's quite low down. Let's see. Seeing a Large Cat. I have no idea. I think they're pretty far down, but again, they were like 50 cents each with my discount, and they're in like perfect condition. Yeah, I snatched them up because I do know that I like this series and I want to read more of them. That's my book haul. I've rambled enough about it, I think. Thanks for watching. Tune in sometime in August for my next book haul because I just can't help myself. Let me know if you've read any of these books, or if you're thinking about picking them up, or if you like them. I mean, if you absolutely hate them, I guess you could say that, but like, no spoilers? Like, Don't put spoilers in my comments for anything. If you're not already subscribed but you enjoy what you're watching, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.